Okay, so Lacey, what I need you to do is pick 5 of these Tingo cards. Any 5.
All right, so this way. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5.
Okay. All right, now that you get this 5, I'll take them. Okay, I'm going to read them. Tell me if this is you, toxic trait that you personally have had in your life, or somebody that you've known either current or past. And if it's neither, that's fine. We'll pass on it. Okay, emotional blackmail. A person in your life says, if you truly love me, you wouldn't question my decisions.
Man, who hasn't had a person like that in their life at least once? That's how I feel.
Would you say that's a frequent one that comes up in your life, or?
I think in the past for sure, but now the way that my life is set up, not as much. I don't get in as much, or if somebody does try to use emotional blackmail, I've learned that it's about them and not me, and so I don't actually fall for it, if that makes sense. But yeah, I think it's a common thing that people experience, though, for sure.
How have you handled that in the past? Examples, times you failed at recognizing it, setting a boundary, and then times where maybe you were able to be like, oh, hell no.
Yeah, I think that when I do recognize it, the easiest way is if someone's trying to say something to emotionally blackmail me. I just say maybe you're right, and that ends the conversation most of the time. Maybe you're right, and then just moving on. Because I don't want to have a conflict, but I do want them to know that they're not going to be able to manipulate me with that tactic, I guess, anymore.
Yeah.
But before, oh my gosh, I would be so just for a long time, a lot of my value was dependent on other people. And so when anybody was you hurt me or in a way that was manipulative, I really fell hard for it a lot. And it was something that just would consume me. And I remember when it clicked, the recognizing that in the moment or whatever is, I don't know, my sister had asked me to do something and I couldn't do it. And I felt so bad that I couldn't do it. And she wasn't even being emotionally manipulative, I guess, but I felt so horrible. I thought about it for 3 days. I really stewed on it. It really bothered me that I couldn't show up, do this thing that she asked for. Yeah. And then 3 days later I had talked to her and she was totally fine. She had found someone else to do it and it wasn't a big deal. And I was stewing for days, Right. And she was like, oh yeah, I found someone else to do the thing. And I was like, what? So that was a big impact of people really utilizing that when I was younger. But now as an adult, I kind of just say, maybe you're right.
I like that. Yeah. All right. Perfect. Next one, rudeness. A person in your life interrupts conversations and treats other service workers poorly, acting as though they don't deserve respect. So those are just examples, but a person who generally is rude to others.
Yeah, I don't have anyone like that in my life on purpose anymore. I tend to not spend time with people that are rude to other people, but I could see how at some point that might be how you would have somebody like that you care about, especially if you're blood related and you still feel that loyalty to a blood family. Everyone has a rude racist uncle, literally everyone. So there is that aspect, I think, but I definitely wouldn't nowadays spend any time with somebody that was rude to other people. That's number one basic red flag, I think, that you learn as a teenage girl, or whatever.
Do you think there was a time that you either would justify somebody's behavior or try to make excuses for people who were being rude or treating others poorly?
Oh, for sure. A million times in the past where I would be dating someone who was another toxic pattern that I was trying to play out in real life. And they would do horrible things. And my family would be like, what's wrong with you? Why are you why are you doing that? Or why is he that way or whatever? And I made up every reason on the earth, because I didn't want to be wrong again, I think, too. But a lot of those scenarios ended up leading to so many abusive scenarios, so it's like, but being able to recognize it now is, I wouldn't make excuses for anyone's behavior now. Yeah. But in the past, man, you're trained young to identify and be like, it's okay, especially if you had any kind of toxic parents as a kid or whatever. Yeah, like any of that. So I can totally see it.
Yeah, and I think that's probably another good sign of a red flag, right? Anytime you start making excuses for somebody else.
Oh, yeah, 100%. Like, why did I do that? But yeah, it's hard sometimes to see it in the moment when you're in it. I've been in it where I just couldn't see how horrible it was, even though everyone around me is like, hey, and the universe is like, red flags everywhere. Right. And I'm just like, no, it can't be that. Is it that? It can't be like,
Why do you think so many people have a hard time believing others when they're like, hey, that's not okay, or that's not good for you, or try to give you advice of things that they're seeing, telling you deserve better?
I think the root of that is shame, truly. Like, the root is shame, but there's many reasons why I think that people, could operate like that, but, or would want to. But deep down, it's always for me, like, been, I'm now ashamed. Like I brought this like really hot guy over and met my whole family, and now he's like, can't even like take the trash out, bro. Like, I can't, and now I'm embarrassed because I thought that I had like picked the right trait or behavior this time.
Yeah.
And now I have to face myself that it's still sick and that there is still this, toxic behavior going on. So when somebody around me is trying to say, hey, maybe you should look at this, I'm going to get so defensive because I'm not able to even look at myself. If I could, I wouldn't probably be in this scenario, And so that's always been a struggle, is just people, do you have a hard time when you see somebody experiencing that trait, especially that you care about, to try to get them to like identify it and act on it in a healthy way is so hard. So hard.
Has there ever been a time that somebody was successful in the way that they said, hey, maybe look at this person's behavior or what they're doing or what they're saying to you or how they're treating you? Was there ever a time where somebody had the right words to kind of get through? Because I get it. Sometimes when people want to tell you what to do, how to do, we automatically get defensive, regardless of a person's past. That can be a normal kind of natural response sometimes. So was there a moment where somebody was able to kind of get through and maybe you weren't so defensive?
I think personally I've had a lot of experiences where I have allowed someone to get through when I was in those toxic scenarios. And most recently, I had a friend who, she had gone through the whole thing. She helped me. It was like a DV situation and get this restraining order, and she had helped with all this stuff. But the only reason I was able to tell her was because throughout the whole thing, where it started with, I'm like making excuses for his behavior, and now I'm self-isolating, and now I'm here. And it was like these people in my life that would just not judge me, but they would just say, how can I support you? Like, whether it's you leave or not, they would literally say, I'll pack the whole truck and like your whole house right now. Right. But if not, it's okay too. Like, and I think that was what really helped me actually, get through those experiences and made me open to people, was their ability to not say, what are you doing? Like, because it is crazy. Like, it's so crazy when you're watching somebody just like destroy their lives because of a really toxic relationship. But it is very helpful to those people who can't see in the moment that, you know, you can just be like, how can I support you? And people are going to do what they do regardless, you know? So just like people making themselves available to me was more of a big thing than necessarily a specific word or saying that someone had said, you know?
Yeah. So definitely supportive, less judgmental.
Absolutely. Yeah. Very much so. It is needed, and it's like not for everybody, for sure, because people don't, it's not natural to, we've been built into this, you know, like world where everything's a competition, like in a lot of ways. And so it's not natural to just choose community or be supportive of people when they're doing things, even if you know that it's not going to work out, you know?
Yeah. And I think it is important to call out and recognize that change is hard, and many people struggle with changing right away the first time. Some people are great at it, some people can do it, but sometimes change requires 2, 5, 10 times trying before you actually are able to change and do something different.
Yeah. No, that's very true. I feel lucky that I sort of understood that somehow at a young age, I feel like, because I've kind of always embraced change in a way, personally, to where, you know, I'm just like, what else is possible? Like, I'm like, what could happen if this happens? I'm so curious all the time. So, you know, change is fun for me, but I know a lot of people don't enjoy that. And it's like uncomfortable, you know, process, but I enjoy it. Bring on, you know.
I love that. that definitely has been a strength for you then.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, we kind of talked about this one. Making excuses. A person in your life constantly says, I'm having a tough day whenever they act out or make a mistake. So yeah, blame it on I had a tough day. I can treat you however I want.
Yeah. And people, I think, often hurt the people closest to them, right? Because it's the easiest. You're in their space and in their face every day. And like, you know, for sure can make a difference.
Definitely. We'll go on, and we kind of talked about that one. Oh, this one's me sometimes. Impatience. A person in your life gets visibly irritated when things aren't done on their timeline.
Man, that's a really good one. It's been a while since I've had to do something on someone else's timeline.
Yeah.
So I forgot about that, but I've definitely had.
You're like, oh yeah, I am impatient.
Yeah. No, I've had so many like bosses or coworkers or just people in my life who are like, you know, why can't you do it this way? And I think a lot of times that comes up in those scenarios with like weaponized incompetence, like where people are like acting like they don't know how to do things, and then the person is like, why can't you do it in this amount of time, and like why can't you just do it at all? So definitely reminds me of being a kid.
Yeah, it's funny because I feel like I have all the patience in the world at work, but it's my personal life I struggle with patience. I'm like,
yeah,
let's go.
Interesting. I'm like the opposite of that fully. At work, I have so much patience. I mean, I don't have any patience at work, actually. That's what I mean.
Yeah.
But with all my friends and stuff.
Pretty patient.
I'm like, you do you on your time, however you want to, whenever you want. And if you show up, what a gift. Like, that's how I try to feel about it all the time. I'm one of those people that will park like really far away in the parking lot to like be grateful for my legs, you know, like I'll be like, that's where
somebody else needs that closer parking spot. I'm sure of it.
Yeah,
I'm fine.
They're having a bad day. I'm like, I got legs. I can walk into the store.
I'm in no rush. Oh, okay. Hold on. What about grocery store lines? Please tell me. How do you behave in grocery store lines? Because I suck.
Honestly, I worked in the service industry for so long that I think I have like saint level patience when it comes to Social Security, talking on hold to the doctor, waiting on hold for the doctor, like those kind of things.
Right.
Personally, I can handle all of that, but I will say I have been ordering my groceries for a long time, and I don't go in the grocery store ever on purpose, like ever. I don't really like going in there. I only go if I have to, grab something. But lines are not that bad because if you're going I think I've just always accounted for time, and someone taught me this trick a long time ago, and I don't know if it's like fake or real. You don't know. It's whatever you believe. You create your own reality, right? But whenever I have to go anywhere, like today, I was gonna be late, and I was stressing because I'm gonna be late and I have to drive. But then I would stop myself and I would just say, wait, I have all the time I need to meet my goals. Like, I have all the time I need to meet my goals. And I feel like I slow time or I make scenarios that, like we got to eat and hang out and, I don't know. It's like I just try to slow myself down and just be like, but at work, I'm like a tyrant. Justin says in my birth chart that I could be a really good cult leader, but I just choose not to.
Please don't, yeah.
I'm really I notice that's about me. I will choose the people over the individual, like every time. I don't know. It's like a weird, I'm sure everyone's different. They have their reasons why, but for some reason I'm just I'll follow every single rule unless it's unethical, and then I will not follow your rule. I will visibly rebel against your rule. So.
And do you feel like that's the way you've always been?
Kind of. Yeah, pretty much. I in a way, I think the older I get, the more confident I am to actually visibly rebel more. But at the same time, I always say the most dangerous thing about me is that I have a paid off car and no history of a criminal record. So that is a really good asset to a lot of scenarios in this world, and ways to utilize your privilege. So yeah, no, but that's kind of a thing.
I love that. That's a good one. Okay, last one. Guilt tripping. A person in your life frequently reminds you of everything they've done for you, implying you owe them.
Okay, that is a lot of people's friends, I feel like, and family members, maybe.
Yeah. I feel like I have had that done to me a lot, but I also, if I'm going to be brutally honest, would say I have
That's
done
my
that
biggest
too.
trait too.
Yeah.
It's actually my biggest trait, but I realized the other day that in a way, part of why I do that, I called my friend and was like, am I a good friend? How do you know I'm a good friend? How do you measure friendship? I was like, it was like one of those friends you could talk to like that. And I was asking him how do you know I'm a good friend? And he was like, how do you know you're not a good friend? And that kind of thing. But I realized that I mimic specific behaviors to some of my friends because I actually want them to do the same thing for me, but I don't ask for it. I just mimic it, trying to be do this thing, and then if they don't pick up on it, read my mind or do the thing, right, I get kind of sad. And so I feel like that's in a way kind of me leaning into that guilt tripping part. Because instead I could just go to my friend and say, hey, I'm looking for this type of support in this way. Can you provide that? And if not, that's totally cool, but I'm going to find somebody who can.
Okay. So now that you know that, you said it out loud, do you do that though? Because you're right. That's the key. That it's that simple, right? Yeah. And that's one thing I've had to really push myself. I don't all the time. Yeah.
I don't. And I do feel like in my personal life and work, I'm completely two different people. And anyone who's stayed with me or at my house, or because I work from home and has heard me on my Zooms or whatever, they're like, who are you at work versus in real life? And so in some of those scenarios, I feel like I lean into it more in work than in my personal life nowadays, but 100%. I feel like our parents trained us to do that from the time we were born. I feel like, well, at least my parents, I don't know, at least my parents, in a way, queen and king of guilt trip, so.
Yeah, I was just telling somebody the other day, I was like, nobody in my family, or at least half the family, talks directly to the person. And once again, it's if we just told the person what you needed, wanted, half the problems would be solved, right? You wouldn't have the
100%.
resentment. You wouldn't have the hurt feelings. Yeah. But yeah, and it can turn really ugly. Like that can feel really bad inside where you're always like, I do this for everyone, but they don't do it for me. Or I show up for this person and I don't get that in return. And now I'm just like, okay, they're not for me then.
Exactly. I believe that too. And a long time ago, somebody told me, well, I don't remember, but it's like that expectations are premeditated resentments. And so I took that extreme in a while. I was like, you know what? If I make a plan with somebody and they show up, cool. If they don't, I'm going to have coffee with myself, like for that hour, you know, because if I have an expectation for a human to not act like a human, like to actually just like show up every single time, or you know what I mean? I will always be disappointed. And so now I try to just, if I make plans and if somebody changes or does at the last minute, because that's also really hard for me, is last minute changes of things like really just sends me off. But I've really tried to embrace that and be like, okay, that whatever time was dedicated to that, I'm going to spend on myself in that moment to like still connect, you know. So, but it can be.
No, absolutely. And I love that time or that disappointment when you have that feeling, you're turning it back to yourself. Like, what can I do for myself? Show up for myself. Maybe they didn't show up in the way I needed them to, but how can I show up for myself?
That took so long. That took like over 30 some years of work to be able to do that. But actually, I was just thinking earlier today about, you know, I was leaving the house, and as a child of the desert has been taught, you have to bring water every time you leave the house. And so I was like, I have a Nalgene bottle. I have a cold water bottle in the fridge. I have a not cold, you know, throwaway one out the side of the fridge. Or I have this like cup I love with this silicone straw I love that like I put ice water in and like put the lemon, and like I just did all the, like it only took me a few minutes, and I started to just be like doing those little things for myself a while ago, when I realized I would have visitors and I would be like, here's your lemon water with the straw and the ice and the lemon cup perfectly. But when I was alone, I would never do that for myself. And I was like, why? Why? I'm like, wait a second. So before I go just get water, I always ask myself, like, what do you want? Like, what do you actually want? And then I try to give myself exactly what I want in that moment. And, some people think that's kind of bougie, but I was talking to my friend the other day about it. It's not bougie at all. And I was like, you know, he's somebody that really has to like suffer to like grow and like feel deeply the things. And I'm like, I don't have to do that. like I could go to a like wellness retreat and have a massage every day. Like I don't have to go like paddle myself in a cave in the mountains is all, you know? So
don't do that. No. Call me first.
No. I could. I mean, it sounds like, you know, like it could be life changing, but there are a lot of other things I could do too with the time I have here. So that's kind of the vibe.
Okay. So you have played Tingo with friends and family. And one of my favorite parts, you're dying laughing, but you're like, I know I'm the most toxic one. So question, do you really feel that way? Or is that like just sometimes you feel like you are, or do you feel like you've just had a lot of toxic things in your life versus you as a toxic person?
That's a really good question, honestly, because I do like to use my trauma for humor all the time.
Right.
And also my sister and me playing that game. She did
side-eye you.
She side-eyed me the whole time. And I was like, girl, okay, I know. I might be toxic, but I don't personally, I try not to spread my toxicity onto everybody around. I don't have a ton of like friends and do all these like social things necessarily, but when I do, I try not to spread it on. But do you have a sibling? I mean, if you have a sibling, you understand trying to play toxic trait, because I love this game because you can relate some of these different traits to childhood experiences to work experiences to friendships to like just even any scenario, because they can apply to all kinds of people. And I don't think humans are not experts on other humans, especially in this society that was built for such like disconnection. So even when you do have those toxic traits, like it's hard to even break out of them if you don't, you know. So I like that this is the ability to like call something out with a group of people, but not necessarily in a way that's
like a punitive,
mean or like gonna harm, you know what I mean? So I that's what I really liked about this game. But man, playing it with your siblings, I think everyone should actually do that, honestly, at least like once, and just see who's the worst out of all, you know, all of them. Because for sure, I've not been perfect for my whole life, and it took so much work to get to a place where, you know, I don't just spread toxicity all the time. Because technically, statistically, that should have been my life, you know?
Yeah. With everything that you have been through, and survived, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I guess that's why, knowing that now about you, I don't see you like as a toxic person. So when you said that, I was like, oh, I see.
When it comes to me and my sister thinks she's not toxic at all in any way, which... Anyways, I love you, Jessica. But yeah, she's funny, and she has like a lot of good things to say. She's taught me so much about recognizing. You know, I struggle a lot with discernment, especially when it comes to like meeting new people and like. You know, I don't always do the safest, like, best thing all the time. I'm just inviting a stranger over, you know, because I have a hard time, like, with discernment sometimes. And that's something I feel like she's such an expert at and has, like, helped me with so much that I can, like, you know, lean on her for telling if someone's crazy or not or whatever. So
I've used her for that maybe once or twice, so I can see where you're coming from there. Absolutely.
Exactly. So...
before we end, I just have to have Babu come on. Can you show this lovely man in your life?
The only man in my life. Come here, let me see if he'll wake up. Look at you, little dog. He made it to 13 in doggy years, and he looks like a chupacabra. And
I just love him.
We went to a neighborhood meeting today, drove across town to a podcast, go to the park later, sniff some butts. That's like his favorite. But anyways, yeah, he
still likes sniffing butts.
Oh, I mean. Still going to the park and walking. So I'm like, dude, if you live to 20, like, or something. Because he seems so frail. He shrinks. He's getting small. He's getting blind. But
a few bald spots.
Yeah. But I know when it's his time, he has lived the best life. We've been on planes, trains, like
he travels with his own bed. Come on now.
His own carry bed and
his
car
own watering
seat.
cup. Yeah, clothes.
Honestly, I'm the only sibling that didn't have kids and got to just like do this joyful thing where you're a dog mom instead.
Yeah, and he has a whole closet, dedicated closet, right?
Full outfits, hand woven sweaters, right? Like. And a wagon to just walk around the neighborhood and make friends with everybody because he can't walk. Like, he goes so slow. I mean, he can walk, but
so you have like one of those carts that you pull around?
You know, like those fold up wagons.
Yeah. So you just put them in there?
This bed fits like perfectly in the wagon. Okay. And then
so it's like a parade.
Chills. Yeah,
he goes on a parade every day.
Yeah, we got friends all over the neighborhood, and that's like the life of it. But I swear when he goes, you know, because I wake up every day and I'm like, another day with Babu like is a blessing at this point because he is so decrepit and just old. But when he does go, I will finally be traveling somewhere for a while. I gotta go somewhere. I feel like I don't go anywhere because of it a lot of the time.
I'm for it. I mean, I'm not for Babu dying. No. I just want to make that clear. I'm not for that, but I'm for traveling. I'm for us traveling.
Yeah. I want to go somewhere, and
I have a passport.
I need a passport. But you know what was so messed up? Well, we can end if you want. Just like,
what do you want to finish the passport?
I need a passport. I just need to get one. There was no appointments. I was going to say for like 6 weeks, so I haven't been able to get one. So
okay. we'll end. Thank you. And I'll tell you all about the passport tricks.
Yes.